Rawteur. So the numbers are in, and it's official. YouTube is the king of streaming. It beat all other streaming platforms by a significant margin, and it's still growing. Business Insider recently ran a piece with this exact headline. The olds are falling in love with YouTube, and it's another alarm bell for Hollywood. Great title, a bit rude, but it's accurate. According to Business Insider, Nielsen's latest data shows that older Americans 65 and up are flocking to YouTube at double the rate they were just 2 years ago. Double. Not only are they there, but they're staying. They're watching everything from history podcasts to home improvement channels and full-blown news recaps. And unlike Netflix or Prime Video, YouTube isn't something they need to pay for or have to set up a complicated account to use. It's just there, and that's kind of the brilliance of it. Business Insider frames it as legacy media companies are still reliant on bundling. Now, whether that's subscription tiers or network deals, YouTube's reach is frictionless. Turn on any smart TV, open the YouTube app, and you're watching. That's it. No profile setup, no billing cycle. The article goes even deeper, highlighting that YouTube's dominance is no longer just about Gen Z watching vloggers in their living room. That's not me. Everyone's watching, from boomers in recliners to young professionals using their TVs as background noise while cooking. In short, this piece paints a picture of a massive platform that has successfully infiltrated the very last demographic Hollywood assumed would stick with traditional TV. And spoiler alert, they didn't. That brings us to the hard data. Nielsen reported that YouTube captured 11.6% of all TV usage in the US, and that's across broadcast, cable, and streaming combined. Let me say that again in simpler terms. YouTube is the single most watched platform on American television. And these numbers are for actual television usage, not phones, not tablets, not laptops, TVs. To put it in context, this means that out of every 100 minutes spent watching television, more than 11 of those minutes were on YouTube. Not on ESPN, not on HBO, YouTube. And what makes this even more shocking is that those minutes are split between millions of content creators. Unlike Netflix, which dumps a season and disappears until the next one. YouTube's model is never ending. You finish a video, another one is lined up. You click a live stream, the comments are already rolling. It's an ecosystem that thrives on the momentum. And this isn't a 1-month fluke according to follow-up reports. YouTube's share continued to climb. Those previous numbers were from February, and as recent as April, it hit 12.4% of all TV time, which is an all-time high for YouTube. If this trend continues, and it looks like it will, YouTube could cross 13% before the end of the year. So yeah, I'm not being dramatic when I say YouTube isn't just winning, it's creating a new definition of what TV even is. Going back to that Business Insider article, they also hit on something that gets overlooked: how fragmented the rest of the streaming space has become. Everyone else is either chasing algorithms with heavily produced originals, locked into licensing wars, or burning money to keep subscribers happy. YouTube, on the other hand, it's giving people what they already want to watch from people they already know and trust without the fuss. As Insider puts it, YouTube is the only platform that works like cable used to, but without the gatekeepers. And that's huge, because if you're over 50, the thing that keeps you from binge watching some prestige show isn't taste, it's effort. YouTube doesn't make you try. You don't need to know the difference between HBO Max and Cinemax. And you just type in 1970s car restoration or latest world news, and boom, there it is. Now compare that to Twitch for a second. Twitch is still the leader in gaming live streams, and it's not like it's doing bad. Far from it, actually. But it's not even in the same weight class anymore when you look at the full TV landscape, and that's where we're headed next. Now, while YouTube might be winning the TV war overall, live streaming is a whole different battlefield, or at least it used to be. Because for years, Twitch was the one platform that nobody could touch when it came to live content. Gaming streams, reaction streams, just chatting, IRL, All of that lived on Twitch. YouTube tried to make a dent before, but honestly, it felt like they were still trying to catch up. And the UI could still use a little bit of work, but hear me out. When we take a look at Q1 of 2025, they're no longer trying to catch up. YouTube blew past everyone. According to the latest report from Stream Charts, between January and March of this year, YouTube Live pulled in over 15 billion hours watched. TikTok Live followed in second with around 8 billion, and Twitch roughly 4.85 billion. Now don't get me wrong, that's still a huge number for Twitch, but when you zoom out, it accounts for just 16.3% of global live streaming time. Meanwhile, YouTube owns over 50%. Now think about that for a second. YouTube, already the #1 platform for on-demand video, is now also dominating the live stream space. And not just a little, we're talking more than 3 times Twitch's traffic. And you know what the wildest part is? YouTube doesn't feel like it's trying that hard. I mean, anyone who's ever tried to stream on the platform knows that. But let's not underplay Twitch's cultural firepower. Take Streaming University, for example, an absolutely impressive collaborative event hosted by Kai Cenat that had streamers like Funny Mike, Cooking with Kaya, DDG, India Love, and many from AMP showing up for a dorm room style reality series. It was all live streamed, and it alone pulled in millions of concurrent views. It trended everywhere, so much so that it felt like a live TV event. On top of that, Kai Cenat's Streaming University was one of the most ambitious projects Twitch has ever seen. Between the guests, the setup, the hours streamed, and the viral clips, it drove a huge portion of Twitch's total traffic in Q2. It was event-level content, the kind of thing that could define a platform's identity for the entire quarter. But if you look at the total watch hours, YouTube's still running laps around them. And speaking of big numbers, Twitch's top performer in Q1 2025 was none other than Asmongold. He pulled in a staggering 26.2 million hours watched in just that quarter alone. And that's not views. That's people sitting with him live, stream after stream. And if you followed all of the drama lately, you know he earned every one of those hours. But here's the real takeaway. Twitch's viewership depends heavily on those breakout moments. It needs tentpole events. It needs top-tier talent like Kai and Zach to keep the momentum up. On the other hand, YouTube doesn't need to bet the house on one creator or one show. Its numbers are driven by sheer volume. Millions of creators going live every day in every imaginable niche. Nobody has to go viral for the platform to win. Now, that doesn't take anything away from what creators like Zach or Kai are doing. They're shaping internet culture, but structurally, YouTube has built a machine that scales without celebrity. That's what makes the difference so significant. I believe that even without the likes of MrBeast, YouTube would be fine. Of course, they're happy he's there. He adds a big boost to the bottom line, but YouTube would be just fine if MrBeast decided to retire tomorrow. Why? They still have all of the VODs that people will watch, whereas Twitch, people don't really watch VODs. Ask yourself, when was the last time you ever watched a Twitch VOD if you do watch Twitch? People are more likely to watch a live stream VOD on YouTube just because of viewing habits and the way the algorithm promotes them as if they are a regular pre-recorded video. And then there's TikTok. TikTok Live is surging, especially among younger viewers. According to the same Stream Chart reports, it claimed around 8 billion watch hours in Q1. Putting it solidly in second place for global live streaming. That's a huge jump from where it was just a year ago when most people didn't even realize TikTok had a live feature. But TikTok still has a platform limitation: short-form culture. Even with live features, the expectation on TikTok is fast, vertical, quick-hit content. That's great for bursts of virality, but it's not designed for sustained engagement over an hour or more. YouTube, meanwhile, is a chameleon. You can go from watching a short compilation to a 2-hour documentary to a live stream of someone pressure washing a driveway, all without leaving the platform. It's that ability to shift formats without losing the user that makes YouTube not just sticky, but unbeatable. And here's another thing. None of these platforms, Twitch, TikTok, even Netflix, can offer all of that at once. YouTube can, and more importantly, it already is. We've talked about Twitch, we've talked about TikTok, But if we're being real, the biggest names in streaming, at least in the public's imagination, are still Netflix, Hulu, Prime Video, and now even services like Roku and Max. So let's talk about that side of the equation, the legacy streamers. Netflix is the OG, the name that practically invented binge culture. And to be fair, Netflix is still massive. As of 2025, they're pulling in over 270 million global subscribers. They've got international market dominance, and they still know how to drop a hit when it counts. But here's the issue. Nielsen's February 2025 media gauge reported that Netflix accounted for 7.6% of total TV usage in the US compared to YouTube's 11.6%. And again, this isn't mobile viewership or website traffic. We're talking about actual time spent watching TV. That's a 4-point lead in raw TV minutes. Not reach, not hype. That's time watched. And when you think about it, that's kind of devastating. Netflix has entire in-house studios. They spend tens of millions on individual projects. They're winning Oscars and Emmys. But YouTube, a platform where you can watch a guy restore a rusty knife for 20 minutes, is winning the watch time war. Now, Hulu and Prime, they're further behind. Hulu clocked in at 2.7% of TV viewing, and Prime Video was just a bit higher. And both of them, like Netflix, are stuck in the content arms race, this never-ending cycle of needing to greenlight more and more shows, buy more and more libraries, outbid rivals constantly, or lose relevance. YouTube doesn't have that problem, and that's the key difference. Legacy streamers are still built like networks. YouTube is built like an ecosystem. Netflix drops a show and people binge it for a weekend. Maybe it trends, maybe it doesn't. Then you wait. You wait weeks or months for something else to show up in your queue that actually hooks you. YouTube, on the other hand, you finish a video and the next one autoplays. You didn't have to wait a year for season 2. You didn't even need to search. It's already there. And YouTube probably knows what you want better than you do. And that YouTube's algorithm, which I believe they spend billions at this point already, and their desire for audience satisfaction, is what keeps them ahead and continuing to gain momentum. Enter Roku. Because Roku isn't usually thought of as a streaming service, it's a platform, a shell. It's a device. But in 2024 and 2025, Roku actually started producing more and more original content for its own Roku channel. And it started getting Nielsen tracked for the first time as its own content destination. So when you see Roku pop up in the charts with like 1% to 1.5% of total TV viewing time, it's technically competing now too. But again, it's competing from a much smaller base. And like Hulu, it relies heavily on acquired content. And speaking of acquired content, if you ever needed proof that legacy streamers are tied to old school network thinking, just look at what's trending on most of them. Reruns of Friends, The Office, Suits somehow had a resurgence 10 years after it ended. I mean, these aren't new discoveries. These are comfort watches. Fillers for when you can't decide what to binge, because we all know, especially on Netflix, the running joke is you spend more time looking for something to watch than actually watching something on the platform. YouTube, meanwhile, doesn't even have to license anything. It just turns on the faucet and the content keeps flowing. It's like comparing a bottled water brand to a literal river. The best part for YouTube is that they're not burning billions of dollars to do it. Netflix spends over $17 billion per year on content. Prime Video is in the same neighborhood. Even Max, after all the Zaslav era budget cuts, is still spending big on a few flagship franchises. YouTube incentivizes creators to create the content for them, which speeds up the growth of their library. Netflix needs Wednesday or Squid Game or The Night Agent to hit big. YouTube just needs you to click one more video when cleaning your air fryer. So while these companies are competing in the same charts, they're not really playing the same sport. Netflix is producing movies, YouTube is producing infinite scroll. And the scary part for traditional streamers, YouTube's coming for scripted content too. Back in the day, it was simple. TV meant something that aired on a schedule. It probably had commercial breaks and came from a network. maybe HBO if you were feeling fancy. Then, Netflix changed everything by ditching the schedule. Hulu followed, Prime Video joined the club. Now TV didn't mean television anymore. It meant television-style content. YouTube has fully embraced the blurred line between show and content, between creator and production company. Shank premiered earlier this year as a YouTube original. It's scripted, serialized, and produced specifically to run like a TV series. The plot is a mix of comedy and survival drama set inside a fake prison environment, hosted by creators, but with studio-level polish. Think The Mole meets Brooklyn Nine-Nine with a side of YouTuber energy. It's not a Netflix clone, but it's also not a vlog. It's something in between, and that's exactly the point. YouTube isn't trying to beat HBO at prestige. It's building a new format that blends personality-driven content with episodic structure. And keep in mind, MrBeast's previous videos already pull in more viewers than most network TV shows. His Squid Game parody alone got over 500 million views. That's more than The Last of Us on HBO. That's more than Wednesday on Netflix, and it was shot for a fraction of the cost. So what does YouTube do? It stops trying to chase TV drama and instead doubles down on spectacle, global-scale competition videos, high-concept reality, and serialized event content built around creators. And that brings us to their very specific, very real goal. YouTube wants to win Emmys. Multiple execs at YouTube have hinted that scripted content like Shanked is just the beginning, and that they want to be considered in the primetime television category. That's huge, because if the Emmys crack the door open and say, yeah, YouTube originals count, it's a legitimacy stamp that no other platform has ever crossed into from the user-generated side. I mean, just imagine if Hassan or Asman won an Emmy for news coverage over the likes of Fox or CNN or any of the other contenders. Here's the thing nobody wants to admit. Most of the other streaming platforms are bleeding money. Netflix is spending billions to stay ahead, Max is consolidating and cutting like it's trying to survive a recession, Prime Video is a loss leader for Amazon, and even Disney, with the entire Disney Vault behind it, has yet to prove that its current model is actually profitable on its own. Meanwhile, YouTube is making money hand over fist, and more importantly, it shares it with the creators. If you're a YouTube creator, you're not a contractor, you're a partner. And that's a fundamentally different relationship than what you get pitching a show to Netflix or trying to land a licensing deal with Hulu. Over there, you're pitching to a gatekeeper. On YouTube, you're building your own gate. And advertisers love it because YouTube has the kind of targeting data that broadcast TV could only dream of. They know what you watch, when you watch, what device you're on, and how long you stick around. That means ads can be more personal, more effective, and for creators, that's more profitable. This is where Twitch, TikTok, and even Netflix start to look vulnerable. So honestly, the future kind of looks like what we're doing right now. A casual, slightly overlong video with no budget, no studio backing, and no network notes, reaching more people than a whole season of some 6-episode prestige drama. Yeah, you know, that's me. That's power, that's independence, that's TV in 2025. So yeah, YouTube is the king of streaming. Not just because it beat the others at their own game, but because it changed the game entirely. How much YouTube have you watched this week? And how many times did you accidentally end up watching 4 or 5 videos in a row you didn't even plan on clicking? Share this video with someone who still pays for cable, and I'll see you on this next one right here.